Good evening and welcome to Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. My name is Beatrice.
And I am Alfred, Ocansey.
The news is also live on Kesmi 107.1 FM and across the world at 3news.com. On Facebook, we're streaming live on 3FM 92.7. Coming up in the next 1.5 hours, independent power producers take on government demanding payment of outstanding arrears, despite the government's claim of reaching an agreement with them.
Also, this evening, Minister for Finance, Dr. Mohammed Amin Adam, apologizes for economic difficulties induced by government's domestic debt exchange program.
Later, National Security Ministry justifies 6 million CD monthly allocation for dealing with the Boko conflict. It says the amount covers essential operational costs such as fuel supplies for armored personnel, carriers, and other operational vehicles.
We've got details of that, and also the National Labour Commission accuses the leadership of the Senior Staff Association of Ghana, FUSAG and TEWO, of breaching the labour laws in their quest to embark on an industrial action. We're here on your Election Command Centre keeping tabs on the John Mahama, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia campaign trail here on your Election Command Centre. We'll give you updates of that as we go on. Also live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. We're live on W93.5 in Wa and beyond.
We have sports and business also coming up, but for now, Grace Hamwajiman is here with the latest in business news. Grace?
Hi, Beatrice. So let's begin from education, because the Ghana Council of Private Schools is calling for a presidential charter and a more inclusive policy environment that integrates private schools into the national educational framework. Executive Director of the Council, Nana Kwesi Jetua, expressed concerns that the current educational policies are increasingly marginalizing private schools at the annual Educational Leaders Summit in the Eastern region. Away from that, the National Security Ministry has justified its 6 million cedi monthly allocation for dealing with the Boko conflict. The amount, it explains, covers essential operational costs such as fuel supplies for armored personnel, carriers, and other operational vehicles. The explanation comes following Boko Central MP Mahama Yariga's questioning the propriety of such disbursement. The National Commission on Culture has outlined plans to foster unity among political parties to ensure a peaceful election as the country heads for the December polls. At a media launch and inauguration of National Planning Committee for the 2024 National Festival of Arts and Culture, the Commission stated that plans are far advanced to organize a major cultural activity to foster national unity. And the National Labour Commission has accused the leadership of the Senior Staff Association, FUSAG, and TEWO of breaching the labour in their quest to embark on an industrial action. The aggrieved leadership of the 3 tertiary unions are demanding the implementation of a vehicle maintenance allowance. According to the leadership, the Labour Commission has already given the orders, but government has failed to comply. It insisted it will embark on a nationwide strike on Friday, August 9. A National Executive Council member of the association, James Kubon, says members will not back down a strike. That's it for the news summaries.
Thank you very much, Grace Hamwajima. Let's bring you details of our stories for you tonight. And the government says it expects the cost of electricity to reduce in the coming weeks as it has renegotiated power agreement with 5 independent power producers. This comes barely 24 hours after the IPPs demanded immediate payment from the government to avoid power outages. The demand follows the announcement of the IMF third tranche cash release to enable it to meet its financial commitments. Chief Executive of the Chamber of IPPs, Eliplim Kobla Ametokbo, laments that despite the IMF release, there's been no demonstrable commitment or action taken towards disbursing funds to the IPPs, and that continues. The delay has significantly hindered the conclusion of already prolonged renegotiation regarding the settlement of legacy debt. Listen.
The continuous delay in disbursing the IMF cash to the IPPs is becoming unbearable and frustrating. You bear with me, about a month ago, the finance minister had a press conference to inform Ghanaians and the whole world that he has secured about $360 million cash released from the IMF. Government went to the IMF with reasons, including debt payments or arrears payment with the IPPs. So what is holding back the disbursement of the cash released from the AMF to the IPPs since it was announced a month ago? This posture is not helpful, and it's not helpful to the industry. Finance Minister or government shouldn't assume that the arrears holders are our profit for which they can do anything with it, or they can delay or whatever. These are monies due to creditors, money due to lenders. So once the release came, our lenders, creditors are on neck chasing us that government has secured money. We believe you have been paid. Send us our due. So I would like to appeal to him to expedite action in the disbursement of this cash to the IPPs. It helps everyone, and it helps the sector as far as energy security is concerned. Besides, we have been waiting for these monies to be able to tie the ends of the negotiated terms. Until this is done, you cannot say that you have reached an agreement with the IPPs. Most of us are waiting to see his demonstrable commitment to this, to give us an assurance to sign what terms or whatever we have agreed to. Thank you.
So you heard that the Chief Executive Officer of the Chamber of IPPs, Eliklim Kabla Apetogbo, and the Finance Minister, Dr. Amin Adam, is hopeful the implementation of the new deal will result in reliable and cheaper power supply. He spoke at a town hall meeting in Accra earlier today.
The independent power producers threaten every day that they will shut down, and this government doesn't want doom so, because we know the effect of doom so, particularly as we are growing the economy. Electricity is the engine of economic growth. And so, to further reduce the cost of power, we decided that we will have to negotiate with the contractors to reduce the cost of power. 5 independent power producers have reached agreement with the government. And once we sign off and we implement these new contracts, it is going to save Ghana $6.6 billion United States dollars.
You heard the Finance Minister, Dr. Amin Adam. We are joined by Richmond Roxon. He's an energy analyst and a private legal practitioner. Good evening to you, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening to you, and good evening to your listeners as well.
We heard the CEO of the IPPs. He was very clear that until the government settles what is due them, there shouldn't be any way forward. But the minister seems to be giving us hope. It does not look like really there'll be a deal anytime soon. I'm wondering how you're interpreting what's going on.
This issue with the independent power producers is very unfortunate. Currently, my last check showed that the debt stands about $2 billion United States dollars that has been hanging for years. Some of them, will call them legacy debt, which previously arrangements were made to be able to clear that with ESLA, and also to give these IPPs some respite. The cash waterfall mechanism was also introduced. Unfortunately, it is not as if this is a debt that has been sealed. It keeps piling up every month, because once they are supplying power to electricity, and once we have all these inefficiencies, operational inefficiencies, we still have technical and commercial losses, we still have power systems, we have high tariffs, poor maintenance and all that, and this old infrastructure that we are using, the debt will still keep compiling. So we'll have to take government commitment and dedication to be able to pay the monies as soon as possible. That is why every now and then we are concerned that even though ESLA has been paid, we still pay these energy sector levies. The monies are not being channeled to the proper use or its intended use to be able to clear this debt. And once these debts are still subsistent, definitely the IPPs at a point in time, I'm sure, just as they said last month, are going to shut down their production, and we may end up going to do so.
And one of the concerns really that has come up has been that although we created this ESLA, we are not really putting it in or even using what is supposed to be used for. From where you sit at the stage where it looks like we've had a lot of threats from the IPPs, and it's almost looking like this time around they may go through with the threat, how do you think immediately the government can deal with the situation so we don't return to those days of doom so?
I mean, as soon as possible, the government should make some payments to them. The ECG was supposed to be paying about $43 million to these IPPs, which is woefully inadequate. But the IPPs felt that because the IMF funds were coming in, at least those monies would have been pushed, or part of those monies would have been channeled to paying them, which the government hasn't done to date. So our recommendation would be that the government, as soon as possible, should make payments to the IPPs. It's good to renegotiate the cost of power, but there's no point renegotiating the cost of power when you're still not paying the IPPs. So at the end of the day, even if it's going to be a CD for each production of power, it will still be debt that is subsistent. So the government must take steps as soon as possible to settle the IPPs, because this is long overdue. Some of these debts, you're looking at 5-6 years, and it's not the best for the energy sector.
We've heard the government make promise after promise. IPPs are threatening a lot of the time. From where you sit, and again, with the information you have, do you think that we are having this lethargic attitude, as it were, from the government because the money probably may not be there, or it is a matter of priority in an election year where you want to invest really where you think you would get a lot of votes?
You know, ordinarily, I would say that we know the economy is challenged. We are all struggling. The external debt have been put on hold. We've had a domestic debt exchange program. We still have bondholders who are struggling. So ordinarily, we would say that we know that when it comes to fiscal space, it's tight for government. But we've also seen other expenditures where at the end of the day, we see them every day and we say, no, hold on. Once you're spending these monies, definitely you should have some liquidity. We've seen government printing textbooks. We've seen government paying for internet. We've seen cathedral. So you sit back, and even though you want to agree that the financial sector is constrained, the fiscal space is tight, you also recognize, of course, government is able to raise some money. And once you've had the IMF money come in, definitely some payments should be made to the IP. Today, without power, all of us are going to struggle. Businesses are going to struggle, people are going to die, and then the economy will come to a halt. So government must take steps as soon as possible to make payments to the IPPs.
We'll have to end it here. Thank you very much, Richmond Roxon. He's an energy analyst and a private legal practitioner.
Let's say a bit further on this matter. And yesterday, when we caught wind of the statement by the independent power producers indicating their appeal to the finance minister to expedite the disbursement of funds to the IPPs as a matter of priority. And they say, despite the finance minister's announcement of the IMF cash release over a month ago, there's been no demonstrable commitment or action taken towards disbursing these funds to them, the IPPs. And that's what I engaged Edward Bauer on, as a member of parliament for the Bongo constituency, also a member of the Mines and Energy Committee of Parliament. And this is what he had to say.
And the assurances they had from the finance minister was that anytime that money was made available, then at least some portion of it was going to be taken to take care of just a small bit of their invoices that they have issued. The reason being that, look, most of them cannot meet the operational cost just because of non-payment of invoices that they give to ECG. ECG is unable to do that. So when you have situations like that, and now look, we had the opportunity to meet IPPs, and as a party, we had opportunity because we wanted to have an understanding of how the situation was in the sector, particularly when we're going to an election. It's better to have a fair idea as to how things are going. Then you can appreciate that. And one of the things that struck me was that as at that time, that's what I'm talking about, and this was about 4 or 5 months ago, as at that time, they had a moving scale in terms of the indebtedness that was between 1.3 and 1.5 billion dollars. 1.3 and 1.5 billion dollars. And this was what the government was intending to renegotiate as part of the IMF agreement. So when you have a finance minister who talks more than doing, when the finance minister thinks that instead of paying IPPs to be able to continuously provide us with power, they rather will use the monies for other things that, in their opinion, can quickly give them some cheap, low-hanging votes, then there's a problem. So I am not surprised about it. But Alfred, I'm telling you that the power subsector, I'm not saying the energy sector, I'm just saying the power subsector, as we speak now, if we were to do a proper audit of the indebtedness that ECG, and for that matter, the state, has, it will be nothing less than $2 billion.
As Edward Bauer is a member of Parliament for the Bongo constituency, member of the Mines and Energy Committee of Parliament, and the IPPs are threatened that if no payments are made to them, they would have no option than to also shut down their plants, and that certainly means that we're going to have to deal with another round of doomsday again.
Hopefully not.
Hopefully not. But still on the finance minister, he has apologized to Ghanaians for the struggles and difficulties induced by the domestic debt exchange program. According to him, it was not the intention of government to visit hardship on the people. The explanation that he gave to the effect that the debt exchange was carried out as one of the requirements for the program with the International Monetary Fund. He spoke at a town hall meeting earlier today.
The independent power, the domestic debt exchange program was a very successful program, achieving 95% participation. And on this note, I would like to appeal to the people of Ghana to forgive us. To forgive us. It is never the intention of any government to impose hardships on its people. It was a necessary, very important decision at the time that if we avoided it, our economy will not recover such as it has recovered today. But also to thank you, the people of Ghana, to thank you on behalf of the president for the sacrifices, for the efforts that you all have made in participating in the domestic debt exchange program that saved our economy. And so I thank you very much for that support you gave to the government.
Well, so that's the finance minister there. The debt exchange program saw government bondholders also exchange existing instruments for new ones with extended maturity. Some 87 billion cedis were voluntarily exchanged, and that obviously led to some haircuts, as we saw, the first in our history as a country, and led to a lot of people losing the money and also the value of money so far. And Joe Jackson is a financial analyst, the acting chief executive officer of Dalex Finance, is joining us on the telephone. Subjection, appreciate your time here on Hot Edition. The apology from the finance minister says yes, government is sorry, but does it soothe the pain of these persons who suffered a haircut and so on?
Well, listen, first of all, my reaction is wow. Well, this definitely is the first for the finance minister to apologize so sincerely for the pain he's caused. Wow. And it doesn't assuage the pain of those who have lost money, of those whose value has been destroyed, but at least it starts to signal that this finance minister just may have his heart in the right place, that he's prepared to admit the damage that they caused, excessive damage that they caused to a section of Ghanaians with this domestic debt exchange program.
And I'm looking at the reactions to this and on social media, and especially for instance, the independent bondholder groups and then also the pensioner bondholder groups, all of them reacting in the same way, that, you know what, this is a situation that could have been avoided. It has happened. We're still losing the value of our monies and still losing money thereafter. We need our money. That's their preoccupation. A right call, is it not?
Listen, they're still losing money. Listen, the coupon rate was 19%. It's come down to 9%. The duration was a few years. It's being stretched for what, 12 years? And to add insult to injury, they were told that it's not a haircut because you're getting the same principal that you had. That was an insult. I said there was no time value for money. It is painful. It is difficult. But at least the apology, however belated, is heartfelt. And I think that they should accept it. But at the same time, insist that whatever money is due us under this your new program must be paid and paid on time.
I recall that when the ZDP was ongoing, you talked about corresponding action on the part of government as citizens were made to bear the brunt of the ZDP with haircuts and so on. Has government demonstrated commitment in conducting a haircut on its size and expenditure, for instance?
That I would say a resounding no. Look at the size of government. Have we reduced the number of ministers? Don't we still have a minister for transport, for railways, for aviation, for roads, and so on and so forth? Don't we have a plethora of deputy ministers? Don't we have multiple appointees and deputies at all NDAs and the like? No, the size of government has not been reduced. And as much as the finance minister's mea culpa or apology is accepted, we should still be asking head of state, the Honorable His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, that it's okay for your finance minister to offer an apology, but when are you going to cut the size of government? It may be late, but better late than never.
And there's a question that came through earlier. I was having a conversation with the friend of mine at the economics department, and the question about whether there's a likelihood of a DDEP again and a haircut again if we don't change our financial misbehavior. Is there a likelihood?
Listen, we're piling up new debt like it's going out of fashion. We're piling up new debt at a higher, much higher cost than the 9% that we've estimated we need. We don't know the full figures, but I tell you, another restructuring is not beyond the realm of possibilities.
It's not beyond the realm of responsibility, possibility.
Of possibility.
It means it could happen again.
At this moment, it could happen again. At this moment, it doesn't look likely. But if they go on a spending spree in the second half of this year, if they don't rein in what they're doing, then it could be in trouble next year. But on the evidence of the first half year results, it looks like we are on the right path. But we must stay on the right path. We must not kowtow to the demands of politics in an election year. The Honorable Amin Adam should remain firm in resisting all NPTs from his political colleagues to spend more than is in the budget. If he does, just maybe we'll be able to escape another debt restructuring program.
Mr. George Jackson, Beatrice here. I just want to go back to the comment you made about the finance minister apologizing to us for what has happened. There are those who are arguing that perhaps he's doing that because one of the key financiers of the party, Kennedy Japan, has asked the MPP to apologize for taking Ghanaians through an economic hardship and may not necessarily be genuine for political reasons. Do you share that same opinion?
I really don't. Listen. Somebody will advise someone to take up responsibility. It doesn't matter who advised it. But if there was a genuine, heartfelt apology, I would accept it for whatever it's worth. And what I heard today on your station seemed genuine and seemed heartfelt. So I'll take it. It doesn't matter who gave him that advice. What matters is that the Minister of Finance stood up and said, I apologize for the pain I've caused you.
Do you think this will change anything in any way? And I'm not even talking about the figures. Those who have lost, they've lost. I'm just talking about the mindset of people towards this government going into the 2024 polls.
Well, for starters, remember that those who lost money in the domestic debt exchange program are not really people with high net worth, and a few others, and also others who lost money indirectly through the mark-to-market and other conditions that were thrown out there. So those who would, I don't think it will move the needle in terms of perception to the government, but I think it's still important that at least this Minister of Finance was able to stand up and apologize, even though he's not the one who instituted the program.
Well, so Jackson, I appreciate your time on this matter, and I thank you so much.
It's a pleasure always.
As always. Good evening. Joe Jackson is the acting chief executive officer of Delex Finance, financial analyst as well. And news just coming through. A violent confrontation at Owutu Bojiase in the Owutu Senior West district of the Central Region has resulted in the death of one person. The incident occurred at around 10:45 p.m. last night, when a group of armed individuals believed to be land guards invaded the Bojiase chief's palace. The attack came ahead of the scheduled outdooring ceremony of the new chief, Nana Kweku Osedu III, set to take place tomorrow. According to police sources, some family members were gathered at the chief's palace preparing for the ceremony when the armed group stormed the location. During the chaos, one man believed to be in his 30s was shot dead. The Owutu Bojiase community has been embroiled in a chieftaincy dispute for the past 25 years, which was recently resolved by the National House of Chiefs earlier this year. The community had hoped that the National House of Chiefs ruling would bring an end to the long-standing dispute, making the violent turn of events particularly shocking. So this is one that we're keeping an eye on. We'll bring you some more updates.
Quite disturbing. We stay on issues of national security because the sector ministry has justified its 6 million cedi monthly allocation for dealing with the Boko conflict. The amount, it explains, covers essential operational costs such as fuel supplies for armored personnel carriers and other operational vehicles. This explanation comes after Boko Central MP Mahama Yariga questioned the propriety of such disbursement. The ministry has been responding in a statement. I'll read bits of it to you. It says, and that's in from the third paragraph, it says, in response to the sharp and troubling escalation of the inter-ethnic tensions in Boko in 2021, which led to the tragic loss of hundreds of innocent lives, including women and children, displacement of people, and disruption of economic activities, the ministry, as a matter of urgency, established a special operation in February 2023 to maintain peace in Boko and its environs, as well as other areas in the northeast region affected and impacted by the conflict. Now it says a budget allocation of 6 million Ghana cedis per month was made to support these operations, which included a special task force. These funds cover essential operational costs, such as fuel supplies for armored personnel carriers and other operational vehicles, the provision and delivery of food rations for personnel of the task force, special intelligence operations and other civil military activities aimed at building societal cohesion and stability in Boko. It continues to say that in line with the coordination and operational strategy for the management of the conflict, the ministry, upon receipt of the funds, distributes same to the participating security and intelligence agencies to support their logistics and personnel involved in the operations, with a core mandate of protecting the lives and livelihoods of all citizens in the area. I'll read one last paragraph, and it says, we must emphasize further that these funds are part of the general operational budget for the ministry. The ministry is, however, compelled to allocate these amounts to maintain peace in Boko when they could have been invested instead in enhancing Ghana's capability to build resilience against the dire security threats such as terrorism and violent extremism spreading across the West African region. And one of the main, the person who made this allegation about 6 million monthly allocation to fight this issue in Boko has been Mahama Yariga, who is the MP for the area. I'll be speaking to him hopefully very shortly, but we're joined by security analyst Dr. Victor Doke. Good evening to you, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, good evening.
We've heard the explanation given by the National Security regarding how much is spent. Would you say that 6 million cedis monthly, that's 72 million Ghana cedis annually, on maintaining our troops in Boko is worth the while?
Well, thank you very much. First of all, let me go by the response from the National Security. First of all, it states, and I'm reading at the paragraph 4, line 5, which states that these funds cover essential operational costs, blah, 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 and other operational vehicles. And then it goes on to the other military activities aimed at building societal cohesion and stability in Boko, first of all. Now, I think one thing we need to understand as a people or security sector actors in the state category is that, one, for state actors, right, to measure successes of security actors, one, we have to ensure it's effective, it's affordable, it's accountable, and transparent. With that being said, some of us would like to know, okay, civil society organizations in the security sector would like to know which are the operational vehicles that these funds were used to purchase, either parts or fuel or whatever, and then what actually went into the civil military activities, which is very important, because if you have civil military activities aimed at building societal cohesion, then one would expect that the youth would now be very knowledgeable, and then their capacity will be built with regards to understanding the fundamentals that violence will not solve the issue. But we haven't seen that. The fact that we have relative stability in the area does not mean that the problem is solved. The underlying problem still exists, and that's what we need to look at. Now, going further in the letter, it says, upon receipt of the funds, distribute same to participating security and intelligence agencies to support their logistics.
So,
again,
Doc,
I refer, yes.
I'm sorry, please land on your thought.
Okay. So all that I want to say, I think we need to be transparent. We need to be accountable to the people as to what exactly went into which area. Okay, so it brings finality to the issue. It's a good work you're doing with regards to helping bring the situation under control. But then, in terms of resolution to the conflict, it only just hibernates it for a while. But the real issues that needs to be solved is not being tackled.
So if I hear you correctly, Doc, you're talking about transparency in terms of the nitty-gritties of where the monies are going into, the vehicles and all of those. But beyond that, though, I know it's also expensive in terms of maintaining security, especially in areas where there are conflicts. But looking on the surface of it, do you think that 6 million Ghana cedis monthly is not too much?
Well, honestly speaking, from my personal opinion, 6 million, okay, can be the exact amount estimated with regards to halting clashes and then operational costs and then other related activities i.e., the fight against terrorism, violent extremism, and all that. So it means you are extending some of the funds to cater for logistics with regards to border security and all of that. That is why we need to hear from the ministry, okay? If we need to have an independent investigation, the Parliamentary Select Committee on Intelligence and Security would have to come in. Let's get some clarity on what exactly went into which areas so we know and then can ascertain and come to a conclusion that 6 million is too much or you need to add more.
Moving forward, beyond the financial bit, how do you think really the security agencies can help maintain peace in this area? Because one of the things I heard you say is whatever it is you're doing, they are only kind of hibernating the situation and not permanently dealing with it as it were.
Okay, so I think what we need to address is how we build the capacity of the security agencies. One. Now, in all of this, we haven't seen or heard that there has been ABC with regards to capacity building for the military or the security actors over there. Now, they made mention of civil-military relations and then also activities. Which activities did or was it targeted to? We haven't seen any. So I think these are things that would have to come out eventually. So just let it come out. Let's see what activities that went on. Then we can now assess whether it's of effective nature or not. Can it address the conflict or not? Then we can now advise in the areas to go. And then we see how best we can handle the situation.
Here. Thank you very much. Security analyst, Dr. Victor Doke.
So live here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. We're live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. Also on W 93.5 in Wa and beyond. Stories we've been looking at. The finance minister has been apologizing to Ghanaians for the struggles and difficulties induced by the domestic debt exchange program at the town hall meeting earlier today. Also, the National Security Ministry has justified its 6 million cedis monthly allocation for dealing with the Boko conflict. With eyes on how things are playing out as well in some part of the central region where a chieftaincy conflict has led to the death of one person. But the National Labour Commission has accused the leadership of the Senior Staff Association of Ghana, FUSAG, and the Teachers and Educational Workers Union, TEWO, of breaching the labour laws in their quest to embark on an industrial action. Executive Secretary of the Commission for Samoa spoke exclusively with the Labour correspondent Daniel Opoko in Accra. The aggrieved leadership of the three tertiary unions are demanding the implementation of a vehicle maintenance allowance. According to the leadership, the Labour Commission had already given the orders, but government failed to comply. It insisted it will embark on a nationwide strike on Friday, August 9. A National Executive Council member of the Senior Staff Association, James Banoing Yakubu, says members will not back down on the strike.
So we are saying that we are giving them up to 9th of this month. We are not on strike as it stands. We are working. Our members are in the offices working. But by 9th of this month, if that letter has not reached the various universities for their finance officers to implement, we will ask all our members to lay down their dues until further notice.
But James, you are very much aware that the law says that you need to petition the illness within 7 days. You have not done that.
Well, that one, like I said, I'm saying it on authority that National Labour Commission is aware of this case. And we are not on strike as we speak. They are aware. If you read the letter, we have stated it there in the letter that this is the steps we have taken and to resolve the issues without coming to the media. But the Ministry of Finance, let me just point it at the doorstep of Ministry of Finance because Fair Wages has done its part.
Deadline.
Yes, that is where. Even let me say this: when we had our meeting at Sunyani on the first of this month, we wanted to go on strike on Tuesday today. Yes, it took some of the leaders, the former national chair, to plead that we should give government some time, and that is why the letter is stated on the knife. If not, by now, our workers would have been at home.
So what are your employers saying then?
Our employers, as for our employers, they are ready to pay. They are ready to pay. I mean, the university, they are ready to pay. Until if government should just write a letter, they were to be paid.
You heard the National Executive Council member of the Senior Staff Association of Ghana, James Yakobo there, but the Executive Secretary of the National Labour Commission of Osua Samoa has described the intention to strike as unfair and a violation of the Labour Act.
It has come to my notice, but formally we have not been notified as a commission. And the law provides that to engage on a strike or any form of industrial action, you have to write to the commission and give us the due notice, right, of 7 days. So what I see is that there was a press conference, and I don't think that's the right way to declare a strike. So right from the onset, you see that they are set to engage in an illegality. And I don't know why this thing keeps happening amongst the labor unions. From the release that they gave, they have engaged, or National Labour Commission has engaged the unions with their employers, and that's the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission. We gave a directive, which was accordingly followed, and then they arrived at a negotiated settlement, after which Fair Wages and Salaries Commission is said to have written to the Ministry of Finance to effect payment of the allowances that are due them. It is the Ministry of Finance, in the circumstances that have failed to pay pay what was recommended by the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission. Then, with the events that follows, GTEC is said to have written a letter that the payment should be withheld until a new rate and a directive comes from the ministry. In all this, if the National Labour Commission gives a directive and it is not followed, an aggrieved party, right, should report to the commission, or both parties, right, should report to the party that yes, the directive has not been followed. The National Labour Commission will go to seek enforcement in the courts.
You heard the Executive Secretary of the National Labour Commission there, Osua Samoa.
Let's bring you some more here. And the Okada Riders Association of Ghana is raising concerns about harassment suffered by members at the hands of the police. They believe that the conduct has the potential to threaten their source of livelihood. Godwin Asedeba reports.
We understand that the police have a crucial role in maintaining law and order, but we also expect them to discharge their duty with professionalism and respect for our rights. However, some officers have consistently engaged in harassment, extortion, and physical abuse against us. We have tried to address this issue through internal channels, but the situation persists. Therefore, we are left with no choice but to take measures to protect our life and rights. We are announcing today that we will begin documenting incidents of police harassment and extortion using secret cameras.
And you heard a representative of the Okada Riders Association of Ghana.
It's live here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7, also on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. We're live on W 93.5 in Wa and beyond. A founding member of the New Patriotic Party, Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo, has called on President Akufo-Addo to apologize to Ghanaians for the economic hardship currently being experienced in the country. This comes following a Central Member of Parliament, Kennedy Ohene Japan, stating that the government and the governing New Patriotic Party stands a better chance of winning the December polls if it apologizes for its management of the economy. Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo has been speaking on this matter to my colleague Evelyn Tengma.
There is an economic hardship, And when there's an economic crisis, it's the rank and file that are suffering. All of us will suffer. There are people who don't even have a meal a day. They live on water, and even water is a problem. So their call for an apology means a lot in politics. But the apology, to me, should have come from the government itself, not the members of the party. The members of the party didn't create the situation in which we find ourselves now. The president, as Nkrumah used to do years ago when I was a child, he should come out with a dawn broadcast, as Nkrumah did, for all Ghanaians to listen to his apology. They gave us promises which has not been fulfilled, assurances which never came, democracy itself, which is the foundation of our party, has been grossly destroyed. Our party is no more democratic. The strength of the masses should never be underestimated. I've been saying it time and again. Now, what happened in Bangladesh just yesterday has come to prove my point again. The masses move. There's nothing you can do. So please, our leaders should listen to the cries of the people.
Let's should listen to the cry of the people. That's Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo. He is a founding member of the New Patriotic Party. This is your election command center. It's live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond, and also on W 93.5 in Wa and beyond. Let's stay issues with search for Dr. Kwame Nkrumah and matters arising.
Indeed, and there have been a lot of comments and reactions to what the president said, and let me just bring you that. They believe that we were all asleep in Ghana until the arrival of Kwame Nkrumah and the CPP. Those would be President Akufo-Addo's words, basically defending his earlier comments that Dr. Kwame Nkrumah cannot be said to be the only person who founded Ghana. That comment has attracted criticism from political leaders and the ordinary Ghanaian. But speaking to senior citizens at the Jubilee House to mark this year's Founders' Day, which fell on Sunday, the president insisted what he has done is right.
I know that there are some who question this ceremony, that is 4th August as Founders' Day, because they believe that we were all asleep in Ghana until the arrival of Kwame Nkrumah and the CPP. I have already stated my views on that several times, including in my speech last Saturday evening. I don't intend to go over that matter again. Suffice it to say, and I believe that the consensus that Parliament arrived at in 2019, honoring Kwame Nkrumah with a Memorial Day and preserving the historical importance and significance of August the 4th in our history, is a good consensus, and it deserves to last. I want to thank all of you for your work for our country and for your support for me as president. And I hope that the same support will be provided to my successor. It is no secret. It is no secret who I hope that will be. And I hope the people of Ghana will agree with me.
And you heard that President Akufo-Addo. Now, one of the people who has spoken strongly against this idea from the president is one of the sons of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, Dr. Sekou Nkrumah. He says President Akufo-Addo is trying to manipulate Ghana's history.
Let's look at it. Ghana is growing, developing, and let's look at it politically as well. We've embraced the multi-party system of democracy now. I think we should be more matured in approaching these things and not go back in the past. We learn from the past, not go to relive the ugly past. I think we should move on away from it.
I also heard you saying that we need to appreciate the contribution of each and every member of the Big Six. Do you think that these attempts, like changing the date and now the insistence on it wasn't just one person who founded Ghana, do you think these are attempts to diminish what your dad did or the effort of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah?
Well, not that, but I think it's trying to manipulate our history. That's why I said earlier, Nkrumah led us to independence. There's no dispute about that. There's no dispute about other people involved in the independence struggle. But the point is that let's put it in the proper context and appreciate the role everyone played. The Big Six, their role is there, but let's not highlight it or exaggerate it as the president is trying to do now.
And I heard that one of the sons of Ghana's first president, Dr. Sekou Nkrumah, in that interview with me earlier.
So live here on your Election Command Center. We're live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond, and also on W93.5 in Wa and beyond. We're going to go for the business news with Michael Ogbodu, but before that.
Yes, before that, step into the world of Dewa 539 for your chance to win big with Dewa Direct and Dewa Chop Money. With Dewa Direct, dial *446#, pick 1 to 39 and win 20 times, 40 times or 400 times your stake, and win cash every evening at 7 p.m. and on Sundays at 6 p.m. Early birds love Dewa Chop Money. At 10 a.m., dial *446#, choose 1 to 39 and win 20 times, 40 times or 400 times. Play at dewa-nla.com or dial *446#. Need help? Call 055-6259-249 or 053-2479-879. Dewa Afa.
The luckiest *712#. Luck is everywhere for everyone, yeah.
Here's to the friends who dialed *712# and found no regrets. To the investors who struck gold. To the health workers who diagnosed luck with precision. To the tough guy who couldn't hold back his tears. To the passionate fan who couldn't contain his joy. To the seamstress who turned her hard-earned stitches into a bundle of happiness. And now, here's to you. Your next big win is right here.
Luck is everywhere for everyone.
Dial *712#. Now join in the luckiest winning celebration. Every 1st July 2024. Over dial *712#. Now I can to tickets as a group, individual, and now even as a community. Now win is the prizes are in the community draw or go for the grand draw on the 30th of November 2024. Unlock your luck with *712#. Now join in the winning streak now.
The luckiest *712#. Luck is everywhere for everyone, yeah. The luckiest.
Hello there, good evening. It's time now for the business segment on Hot Edition. Coming up tonight, Bank of Ghana sanctions hundreds for issuing dud checks as it bans them from issuing checks and accessing new credit facilities for 3 years. We'll bring you details of these and more shortly. Please stay. Well, thank you for your time. Straight into our top story. The Bank of Ghana has imposed sanctions on 47 individuals and 245 business entities for the persistent issuance of dud checks. The central bank has accordingly banned them from issuing checks and accessing new credit facilities for 3 years. The following 3 Business News Desk report has the details.
The Bank of Ghana has taken a strong stance against the issuance of dud checks, sanctioning 47 individuals and 245 business entities who breached its notice dated March 11, 2021. According to the central bank, these offenders issued dud checks on at least 3 occasions between January 2022 and January 2024, despite repeated warnings about the consequences of their actions. The bank's regulator said the sanctioned individuals and entities are banned from issuing checks in Ghana for 3 years and from accessing new credit facilities from the banking system for the same period. This is in addition to any potential legal proceedings under Ghana's criminal code. Banks and specialized deposit-taking institutions have been directed to inform the culprits of the ban and recall all unused checkbooks. The central bank said new checkbooks will not be issued to the affected customers until the sanctions are lifted. The Bank of Ghana emphasizes that issuing bad checks carries both legal and regulatory consequences, and it remains committed to monitoring the payment system to uphold the integrity and soundness of the financial system.
Now, that was a 3 Business News Desk report. Away from that, the Minister of Finance, Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam, has rendered an apology to Ghanaians for the hardship imposed on them by the Domestic Debt Exchange Program, DDEP, stating that it was a prerequisite for the program with the International Monetary Fund, IMF. The program sought to exchange 109.84 billion cedis, with the government seeing the voluntary exchange of 87 billion, which was considered successful. Speaking at the Greater Accra Regional Town Hall meeting and exhibition, Dr. Amin Adam stated that it was not the intention of the government to visit hardship on the people.
I would like to appeal to the people of Ghana to forgive us, It is never the intention of any government to impose hardships on its people. More so, the MPP government that has demonstrated that we want to reduce the burden of the Ghanaian people. And I will show why this government has, from the beginning, tried to reduce the burden of the Ghanaian people. That same government cannot impose hardships on the same people. It was a necessary, very important decision at the time that if we avoided it, our economy will not recover such as it has recovered today. The decisions we made and all the support you gave us, the people of Ghana, during the DDEP has contributed largely to the recovery our economy is seeing today. And this is why I want to appeal to you to forgive us.
So that was Finance Minister Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam speaking. Now, the General Agricultural Workers Union, GAU, has expressed concerns that food prices in the country could remain relatively high for the rest of the year due to what it describes as the government's failure to institute effective policies to enhance the agricultural sector. Recently, the Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana released a report revealing that over 80% of farmers in the country have yet to be registered under the Planting for Food and Jobs Phase 2 project, which aims to enhance the country's food security. Speaking to 3 Business, General Secretary of GAU, Edward Kariwe, stated that the delay in addressing illegal mining is adversely affecting food production efforts in the country.
From now until the end of the year, we should not expect much because you can't force the crops. The farms are not even there. Farmers have cut down their farm size because of cost of production, land preparation, inputs, and so on have cut down. Apart from that, fertile lands have been used for galamsey. You see, the lands that we can use for farming have all been used for galamsey. Even existing farms have not been spared. Maize farms have not been spared. Plantain farms have not been spared. Cocoa farms have not been spared. Oil palm trees, and then rubber. All that have been encroached upon by what? Galamsey. And galamsey is ongoing. And wherever galamsey passes, it leaves a permanent distraction, particularly for the purpose of food production. You can never do food production where there's galamsey, because you need to reclaim the land and then allow it to. And we don't have the capacity, and there's no even an attempt to reclaim the land.
You hear the voice of the General Secretary of the General Agricultural Workers Union, GAU, Edward Kariwe, bringing an end to the business segment here on Hot Edition. For more business stories, please check out our website. It's 3news.com/business. I am Michael Obodu. Thank you for listening. As always, please stay safe. Up next is Sports and Bill, so stand by to bring you the latest.
Hello, good evening and welcome to the sports segment here on the 3FM Hot Edition. My name is Billy Shen. We're going to start off from Paris 2024. The Prince will be ready on Friday for the final of the Olympic men's football in Paris 2024, and that final will be between France and Spain. France earned their place in the final after defeating Egypt by 3-1 in the semis, and Spain defeated Morocco by 2-1 in the other semi-final. Now Spain will be looking to win the gold medal for the second time in their history and bounce back from that defeat that they had in the 2020 Olympic final. Now we spoke to a sports consultant, John Boaf, who is currently in France, and he said that these two teams deserve their places in the final.
And they tried to emulate the 1984 team that won the Olympics 40 years ago. And against them, they have a Spanish team that are trying to really do as well as they can, because it's been quite of a Spanish summer. They won the Euros, they won the under-19 Euros as well, and they'll try to beat this French team in a remix of the Euros under-19s, France versus Spain. So it's going to be a good game.
It's indeed going to be a very, very good game. Now, in the women's football in Paris 2024, currently Germany are playing against the USA in the semi-finals for the women's division. And it's 0-0 and it's currently at extra time. Also, Brazil will play against Spain in the other semis later tonight at 7 p.m. So look out for that fixture in women's football. But moving on to basketball in the Olympic Games, Germany earlier defeated Greece 76-63. Serbia defeated Australia 95-90 after overtime. And currently France are playing against Canada and the score is 80-73 in favor of France. Later tonight, Brazil will play against the USA at 7:30 p.m. And the USA are deemed heavy favorites to win the competition. But later tonight also, there's the women's 200-meter final. And here are the start list for the women's 200-meter final. There's Mackenzie Long, there's Jessica Gbai, there's Dina Asher-Smith, Daryl Nater, Brittany Brown, Gabrielle Thomas, who is a favorite to win it, Julian Alfred, who won the 100-meter gold earlier this month, and there's Favor Ofili, who had a problem with the Nigerian Federation, who didn't register her for the 100 meters in the Olympics, but she is competing in the 200-meter final in the Olympic Games. Now let's move on to football, Ghanaian football. We have Mohamed Kudus, who's currently preparing for the new season with West Ham United, hoping to build up on the 8 goals he scored for the club in his first stint for that Premier League club. And he has listed his objectives for the new campaign.
As a whole team, we couldn't qualify for Europe last season, so the goal is to qualify for Europe this season and challenge the top 6. And then, as a player, it's just trying to use my individual skills and ability to help the team, qualify in an European stage for the upcoming.
That was Mohamed Kudus there, a midfielder for West Ham United. But let's go on to local football before I do go. Nuruddin Amadou, the head coach of Samatex FC, is currently training the team ahead of the CAF Champions League, which they are preparing for this upcoming season. And he has stated that he hopes to do what Dreams FC managed to do last season, where they managed to reach the semi-finals of the CAF Confederation Cup.
Putting pressure on your team?
No, that gave us, it gives us inspiration. We have to take inspiration from them and the Mediama. What they have been able to do, we could also do more or less, or at least we are inspired to do exactly what they have been able to do or more.
Coach, we know you are starting the preliminary round. You already know your opponent. Do you have any idea about them, and how are you planning to, get more information
ahead of that big clash?
Yeah, I think that the video analyst is working around the clock. We need to sit down and watch their video clips, how their defensive structure is, how their midfield structure, how their attacking structure is. And then we also map a strategy as we are going away so that we can get the good results there and then make the return leg a mere formality.
Any lessons from your playing days that you are, transferring it onto your players ahead of a very big challenge next season?
Yeah, we just, some of them have not seen us play, so maybe they have heard and they have not seen many clips about videos like the current situation. But at least when we are doing some demonstration, they see that there's somebody who has played the game before, and then we are transferring that to them in terms of the practical work on the pitch.
That was Coach Nuruddin Amadou, the head coach of Samatex. And that brings an end to the sports segment here on the 3FM Hot Edition. My name is Beatrice. Beatrice is on standby with more.
Of rewarding radio and television excellence, 10 years of rewarding excellent voices and personalities, 10 years of providing quality entertainment. RTP Awards, it's 10 years. The excitement is back. The 10th Adonko RTP Awards hitting the Kempinski Hotel live on the 7th of November 2020, coupled with spectacular performances. Time 6 p.m. The Adonko RTP Awards is brought to you by Adonko Hand Sanitizer, Adonko Next Level Energy Drink, Jim Ray Estates, Bio Litigation Free Land, Verna Mineral Water, your lifestyle, Dofu Roofing Systems, Yas Tissues, Special Drinks, Jerigate Fashion House, Papa's Pizza, Axis Shipping, A to Z Auto Services, Sumisura by Abdul, a step ahead in tailoring. The 10th Adonko RTP Awards is a black tie event. Attendance is by invitation. For 3FM to win more awards, vote for us now. For 3FM Drive to win Radio Program of the Year award, dial *447*111#. Select RTP 3FM Drive to vote. Or you can log on to rtpawardsafrica.com, select RTP 3FM Drive to vote.
Enjoyment, hey, I go.
Thank you very much, Billy Shan, for bringing us the latest in sport. You're still here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. You're still here on Hot Edition on Shri FM 92.7. Welcome to Campaign Trail. On Campaign Trail tonight, we start with that comment made by President Akufo-Addo that Dr. Kwame Nkrumah cannot be seen as the sole founder of Ghana. And as you heard me tell you earlier, during that meeting with senior citizens yesterday, actually on Sunday, the president said that he actually insisted that what he has done is right. Let's hear what the president told the senior citizens yesterday.
I know that there are some who question this ceremony. That is 4th August as Founders Day, because they believe that we were all asleep in Ghana until the arrival of Kwame Nkrumah and the CPP. I have already stated my views on that several times, including in my speech last Saturday evening. I don't intend to go over that matter again. Suffice it to say that I believe that the consensus that Parliament arrived at in 2019, honoring Kwame Nkrumah with a Memorial Day and preserving the historical importance and significance of August the 4th in our history, is a good consensus, and it deserves to last.
That was President Akufo-Addo. Now, one of the people who has spoken strongly against this idea is, from the president, is one of the sons of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, Dr. Sekou Nkrumah. He says President Akufo-Addo is trying to manipulate Ghana's history.
Look at it, Ghana is growing, developing, and let's look at it politically as well. We've embraced the multi-party system of democracy now. I think we should be more matured in approaching these things and not go back in the past. We learn from the past, not go to relive the ugly past. I think we should move on away from it.
I also heard you saying that we need to appreciate the contribution of each and every member of the Big Six. Do you think that these attempts, like changing the date and now the insistence on it wasn't just one person who founded Ghana, do you think these are attempts to diminish what your dad did or the effort of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah?
Well, not that, but I think it's trying to manipulate our history. That's why I said earlier, Nkrumah led us to independence. There's no dispute about that. There's no dispute about other people involved in the independence struggle. But the point is that let's put it in the proper context and appreciate the role everyone played. The Big Six, their role is there, but let's not highlight it or exaggerate it as the president is trying to do now.
You heard one of the sons of Ghana's first president, Dr. Sekou Nkrumah, speaking to me earlier. I'm joined on the line now by Dr. Jonathan Asante-Okyere. He's a political analyst and lecturer at UCC. Good evening to you, Doc. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening, Beatrice.
So we've heard President Akufo-Addo make a comment that Kwame Nkrumah cannot be seen as the sole founder of Ghana. There were lots of criticisms coming from all quarters, including from the former president, John Mahama. And then he goes to meet senior citizens and he insists that what he said was right. And it wasn't that the rest of the Big Six were sleeping when Nkrumah and his CPP suddenly came up and rescued Ghana. As a political analyst, I'm wondering what you make of his insistence on ensuring that we get what he thinks is the right history for Ghana.
Well, let me say good evening once again to your listeners. I think that I have christened this particular speech by the president as a third-class analysis of the history of this country. And I've said that I'm not surprised that he got a third class in the University of Ghana in his first degree. And that is a fact. And so what he did was not only symbolic, but a third class analysis. Now, the thing is that he is trying to justify why the birthday should be, the celebration of this particular day, this particular holiday, should be founders with the S, after with the apostrophe after the S, not before. Now, with that, he is more or less justifying, giving credence to what is in the Japadia document. And I am really, really surprised at the obsession of the president at denigrating the status of the founder of this nation. Now, I have said that it is physically impossible for one person to found it. It is physically impossible. But it takes someone with that mental fortitude to be able to strategize and re-strategize, organize and reorganize, and then re-energize the grassroots to be able to buy into the vision that, he's trying to put out there. And so, in as much as I agree with him to some extent, my agreement stems from the fact that it is physically impossible for one person to found a nation. But it takes one person's mental fortitude to be able to do so, and then the credence given to that particular person. The other part, look at Christianity. Now, if Christians attribute the founding of their religion to Jesus Christ, but what about the roles of Abraham? What about Moses? What about Elijah? Were they not great prophets? They paved the way. Jesus Christ, I think in Mark or so, the writer or the author traces the origin of Jesus Christ to David. So we all have some beginnings, but it takes the initiative of a particular individual.
Doc, are you still on the line with us? Hello? We seem to have lost Dr. Jonathan Asante-Okyere there, just right in the middle of his comment. But you're still here on Campaign Trail on Hot Edition on True FM 92.7. So here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7, this is Campaign Trail. We'll go back to Dr. Jonathan Asante-Okyere, a political analyst and lecturer at UCC, who was just giving us his view regarding the comment of the president that Dr. Kwame Nkrumah cannot be said to be the only founder of Ghana. We'll return to him when we're able to reconnect to him. But ahead of that, the flag bearer of the NDC, John Mahama, has made a clarion call on residents of Bulsa South and North constituencies to take advantage of his incoming farmers service centers and his game-changer 24-hour economy policy to become the largest producers of rice and other agro-food crops in the country. Bulsa North and South produce a significant amount of paddy rice, feeding part of the northern, northeast and upper east regions of the country. Komla Kluche has the rest of the story in the following report. I'm sorry, we're unable to bring you that report now, but let's return to Jonathan Asante-Okyere, who was making a point earlier about the president's comment on Ghana's first president. Dr. Jonathan Asante-Okyere, hopefully you can hear us and the line doesn't cut through the middle of your thoughts. Please go ahead with what you were saying.
Well, I think that your line is a bit terrible, but I heard you rightly. So my point is that if the president appreciates the effect of this particular, posturing or decision, he should look at the 2016 elections and 2020. Now, in the 2016 elections, for the first time, he won in those areas, in the Western and in Zimbabwe, for the first time. Not MPship per se, but in terms of the total presidential vote. Now, see the 2020. At that time, they had already started this particular, attempt at reducing the status of Dr. Nkrumah as far as the founder and the history of this country is concerned. The president and Professor Makokwe, they have started it. And so it affected the NPP in the general elections in 2020. And I can tell you for sure that it is still going to have a very bad and a telling effect on the chances of Dr. Bawumia in all these areas, including the central, the western, and other parts of this country. Because these things that the president is doing, it surprises me. Mr. Kufuor, who is equally from the UP stock, never did this. He never did this. But at this point in time, we have someone whose father was once president of this country. And that even worries me, that as a nation, why should we even sit down that someone's father became a president and the son has also become a president? This is not, a chieftaincy tool. We should have even averted our minds to some of these things. And I'm saying that the president is not doing this in vacuum. It fits into this Ejapadia document. And more or less, wanting to prop up, their side of the history, so to speak.
Don't forget that the president
of entitlement and ownership.
Don't forget the president has
created all this kind of mess.
The president has rejected that document, saying that it is complete falsehood.
Oh, of course. Why will he not reject a document that was not meant for public consumption? He would deny it.
But again,
and the way things are happening in the document from the time that it began, its implementation began up to today, why wouldn't he deny it? But he has rather engendered people to go and read the document.
So I want to find out from you if you could give us details as regards why you describe the president's comment as a third-class analysis. Why?
What do you mean?
What do you mean by the president's comment on Dr. Nkrumah is a third-class analysis? What do you mean by that?
Oh, your network is terrible, Beatrice.
Doc,
can you say what you said again?
I'm saying that earlier you said that the president's comment is a third-class analysis, and I'm asking you why you say that.
Well, it is because he's not appreciative of fact and what the history is all about. And he's trying to twist, manipulate, control. And that is what the president is trying to do. But I am telling him that this is just political, and political positions, they are transient. The moment you leave, a new government comes, and then they will tell you that that is not what the actual history is. But if anything at all, the president should sit down and ask himself, for someone to be regarded as a man African of the millennium, I don't think any of his relatives come anywhere close to the stature of that person. And no matter what he does, nothing will change. He cannot change history. And little is, go on.
No, I haven't coming. I was just listening to you.
Yeah. You see, if the president is someone who is observant and watchful, he should look at the labor terrain, and he will see that his popularity is at its lowest ebb. And that is not the time you get people more angry. After all, this shouldn't be the focus of the president. People are really suffering. The tariff, the latest tariff, they've gone up. Water, the same. Food prices up. We're even in the harvest season. So somewhere September, October, you will see the condition that we find ourselves in terms of commodities on the market. What about interest? What about the depreciation of the city? Every time you give assurance and reassurance, you don't really know how to solve any of these problems. The person who is dead so many years ago is the one that you are so obsessed with. My goodness. I don't think that Ghana would deserve something of that sort. That as Ghanaians have allowed a father and a son to be president in this country. It shouldn't be, because the resources must turn around, must go to all homes in this country. That is the essence of democracy. Optimal distribution of wealth. Why did we allow that to concentrate in a particular family and a particular, tribe, so to speak? And this is the kind of thing that we are all suffering. It is just, that's why I said, what he did and what he said was just merely a third-class analysis. It doesn't have any water. It is just someone who is emotional and obsessed about propping up, finding a way of propping up his family in the annals of this country.
We'll have to end it here with you. Thank you very much, Dr. Jonathan Asante-Okyere, political analyst and lecturer at UCC. And that'll be it for Campaign Trail on Hot Edition on Shri FM 92.7. And that's it for Hot Edition here on Shri FM 92.7. My name is Beatrice. Thank you very much for joining us today. I did this with Alfred Ocansey. Log on to shrinews.com for more news. Have a good evening and do enjoy the rest of our programs.